Okay, today we're going to start on Daf Beis Amud Aleph, holding by Lema Reiv Mitzvim Mitzvah Mumchim. That is, a little over 20 lines from the bottom. Okay, sorry about that. It's going in and out, correct? I think it should be better now. So, Lema, the Gemara starts, Lema. Okay, we thank Hashem we're able to learn Torah every day. And then this Chus of our learning, we should have the base of Mikdash. So, Lema, let us say, Shereiv Mitzvim Mitzvah Mumchim. That this concept of the people that are shechting are mumchim tanaihi is a machlekes tanaim. So in other words, the Gemara is going to bring now is this a mishnah? It's a brisa that we'll see that what we've been saying before that we as an accepted fact the Reiv Mitzvim Eitzel Shchita mumchimim it's not so clear. It's actually a machlekes. The Tanya was started in a brisa. Reish Avdalei Gedia v'Tanagolav. Someone lost his goats or chickens. And then he goes and he finds that they're shechted. Shaila is adi kasher. Someone shechted him without his knowledge. So interesting taste over here that even if they were stolen, you're still going to have the same svara. Now the thing is like this: that the ganav, you would say 1 second, he's a ganav. So how could it be kosher? It says no. It doesn't mean that. Just because he's chasher agneva, it doesn't mean he's chasher on nevela. Maybe just because he's a ganav doesn't mean that he eats treif. So the machlekes is like this. Rabbi Yehuda says that we don't know who shechted them. You see the shechter, we don't know. Maybe it's someone that doesn't know the halachas, and he was shah and daras, and he did all the problems. He waited and pressed. He did it wrong. So therefore, the meat is aser. Rabbi Chanina ben Eshel, Rabbi Yisrael Glili mater. Rabbi Chanina, the son of Rabbi Yisrael Glili, he says that it's mutter. So Rabbi Yisrael Glili was like a friend of Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Yehuda would also be like contemporaries. Okay, I'm a Rebbe. This happens a lot in the Gemara. The Rebbe says that I'm going to paskin like this one. In this case, I'm paskin like this one. In that case, and the Gemara says so. That means they're really arguing about more than that. If you're paskining, I'm a Rebbe. The Rebbe says near Devarim shal Rabbi Yehuda shematzim ba'ashba. So Rabbi Yehuda is probably right. I see Rabbi Yehuda's logic that it's usher if you find them thrown in the garbage. If they're in the garbage, then it's probably nevela. The sheikhet messed up. That's why he's throwing it in the garbage. So that's why you're not allowed to eat it. And Rabbi Yisrael Glili that says that it's mutter. That's because you found it in the house. You found it on the dining room table. So then it's going to be mutter. Yeah. My love, now the svara goes like this: that if once Rebbe says that Nirin Devar Shal Rabbi Yehuda in this place, Bashba, Nirin Rebbe Chanina Bebayas, that must mean that really Rebbe Chanina holds that it's really mutter even Bashba. But just Rebbe doesn't paskin like him over there. And really Rebbe Yehuda says that it's Asr even Bebayas. Just Rebbe doesn't paskin like him over there. Rebbe makes a psharat where it's going to fit. He makes a how do you say pshara in English? It's finds a middle. How do you say
I don't know,
pshara?
resolution.
Resolution.
No, it's a better word for it.
In the middle, yeah. Okay, my lab bakamiflagi. So it must be that the machlekes is like this. The Marsavar, what's the machlekes? That's Reb Chanina would hold. Amrin Reb Mitzayin Eitzel Shlitim Mumchimim. Why is it always mutter? Because Rav people are mumchim. They must have done a good job. So it must have been shachted correctly. Marsavar Reb Yehuda holds Amrin Reb Mitzayin Eitzel Shlitim Mumchimim. And so therefore, Reb Chanina says it's always mutter because of the Rav. And Rabbi Yehuda says it's always asur because we don't have a Rav that tells me that they shechted it properly. Amr Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says he rejects this suggestion that Rav Mitzuyim that this is the machlekes. He says like the Kuli Alma. Really, both Reb Yehuda and Reb Chanina, they both hold Kuli Alma, Reb Mitzayin Eitzel Shlitim Mumchimim. Everyone would really hold that it's kosher. B'bayis, the Kuli Alma Le Pligi, the Shari, everyone would hold it. B'bayis, it's mutter. Ba'ashba shebeshuk, if it's in the city garbage, the market garbage, the Kuli Alma Le Pligi daser. That's what you would throw out in a vela. So everyone agrees that it's daser. Ki pligi b'ashba shebebayis. Machlekes over here is somewhere in the middle. He found it in the garbage in the house. Tosfos adds in, hu adin the pligi b'shuk b'layashba. You find it in the market that's not in the garbage. Yeah, so we have like really 4 cases over here. Garbage in the market but not garbage. Garbage in the house, or on the table in the house. So on the top, the table in the house, everyone agrees that it's going to be mutter. The garbage in the marketplace, everyone agrees that it's asur. The machlekes is the two in the middle: market, not garbage, or the way Argamar is putting it, house garbage. Marsavar Rabbi Yehuda holds. Rabbi Yehuda says that people would throw things out in the house garbage. Yeah, it's going to smell over there, but if it's an avela, that's where they'll put it. Marsavar, Machlekes has nothing to do with Rav Mitzayin Eitzel Shlitim Mumchimim. Really, they are mumchim. Shaila is, what do they do with an avela? So if it's in the house, it's a totally separate machlekes. Okay. Why would Reb Chanina hold that they won't put it in the house? Because over there it's going to smell. So therefore, if you find it in the garbage in the house, you can take it out and eat it. That's Amar Mar. So we learned before statements from Rebbe. Amar Rebbe, near to Rabbi Yehuda. Shematzim ba'ashba. Rabbi Yehuda says that it's asur to eat this meat that you don't know who shechted it, and Rebbe says that he'll accept the view of Rabbi Yehuda if it was found in the garbage. My ashba, which ashba are we talking about? Ilay ma ashba shebeshuk. If it's the garbage in the market. You said it's not only Rabbi Yehuda that holds that. We just said, according to Reb Nachman Bar Yitzchak, everyone holds that. Even Reb Chanina holds that it's asur. So, what does he mean near in the Rabbi Yehuda? Elalav pshita b'ashba shebebayis. It must mean the garbage in the house. That the garbage in the house, it's going to be asur. And which is clearly only the view of Rabbi Yehuda. A Maseifa. So the Seifa says that Rabbi accepts. It was found in the house. Now my bias, what's the house? If it's the house on the table. So I'm to show you told me everyone holds it that's mutter on the table. So what do you mean Divri Reb Chanina? So it's Elapshita Bashpasha Babayas. It must mean Ashpasha Babayas. It must mean the garbage of the house. Okay, so now what comes out is Kasha the Rebbe and the Rebbe. You have the Yukim Seisrim. From when he says near in the Rabbi Yehuda, it was clear that he's talking about Ashpasha Babayas, that it's going to be near in the Rabbi Yehuda Ba'ashba means Ashpasha Babayas, which means that it's going to be Asur. Asur in the house garbage. And there in the Rabbi Chanina, it must be Babayas. We're in the bias, and Ashpasha Babayas means that it's mutter in the house garbage. Stira and Rabbi. Diukim Seisrim. It's not even Diukim Seisrim. The only way that we can establish what Rebbe was saying as a chiddush would be to say that each one is talking about the Ashpasha Babayas. When the answer is Hachi Kamar. No, Rebbe wasn't saying it the way that we were reading it. Rebbe wasn't saying that the way we were reading it. We were saying that Rebbe's paskening. Now the Gemara is going to say, Hachi Kamar. Rebbe wasn't paskening. Rebbe was explaining the machlekes. Says Nirin Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Chanina, B'nai Shmuel B'nai Glili. It appears that what Rabbi Yehuda was telling to Rabbi Chanina is Ba'ash B'Shabashruk. He was talking about the in the city garbage. Shaf Rabbi Chanina B'nai Shmuel B'nai Glili Nechlek Alav. Ela Ba'ash B'Shababayas. Avash B'Shuk Maidilei. B'Nirin Chulu. He was explaining the machlekes. He was saying that I'm not getting what the word nirin is. That nirin is different than rayan. I nirin the kamar. You see Rashi. I nirin the kamar. Lei svara didehu dashminan. V'lei rayani kamar. He wasn't saying his own svara. He wasn't saying rayani. He was just saying what's the machlekes? But my pligi. That's how Rashi puts it. Okay, we're saying they're machlekes, so therefore we don't have to be medayek that they're talking about the ashba shababayas, and it's coming out that Rebbe's passing ashba shababayas, that the house garbage is going to be a contradiction. He's just saying that Rabbi Yehuda would clearly hold ashba shabashuk, because even Rabbi Chanina would agree to him there. And the opposite, that Rabbi Chanina would tell Rabbi Yehuda that you clearly hold in the bias that it's going to be mutter, because you'll agree with me in ashba in the bias itself. Machlekes would be ashba. Okay, what happens now in 12 pages, but we actually have to go back to the first Mishnah and to see what we said in the first Mishnah. We started off saying Hakol Sheichten, everyone is allowed to shech, and Vimshachtu Shchitas and Kashera, and if they shechted, then it's mutter. And we had a whole discussion over there. There was L'chatchila, you told me Hakol Sheichten, and then you tell me B'diavad it's kasher. So what are you talking about? We went through, maybe it's talking about a kuti, or someone that so it wasn't so simple. Was it maybe for someone that keeps his chulin b'tara? We had all that whole discussion. Then it says chutz micher sheit v'katan, and that's what we're holding now. Chutz micher sheit v'katan, shema yikalkalu es shchitasan. Except the cher sheit v'katan can't shech, because they may go ahead and mess up the shchita. Yikalkalu, they'll mess up the shchita. Now, over here we said, what the Mishnah really said is ushchitasan kshera, chutz micher sheit v'katan, that the b'diavad is going to be kosher, except for a cher sheit v'katan, that even then b'diavad is not kosher, right? And then it goes on to say, if there's other people watching them, then it's going to be kosher. But by a cher sheit v'katan, it's going to be possible b'diavad, if there's no one there. So the Gemara asks, Shema kilkalu like Tani. It doesn't say maybe they messed up the shchita. It says Ela Shema yikalkalu. Problem is, we were talking about the b'diavad. It was done already. B'diavad after the fact. We're saying that what it looks like is that a cher sheit v'katan shouldn't shech lechatchila because they may mess it up. Shema yikalkalu. Maybe they will. The yud and the vav at the end is that they will. They future tense. Third person plural future. Kilkalu would be third person past tense, plural past tense. Maybe they messed it up. That would mean that even after the fact it would be, but it didn't say that. It says Shema Yikalkalu. Amarava Zaysimeres Ein Maishem Lam Chulan Lechatchila. It's coming to tell me a chiddush. That even though if you read further in the Mishnah, it says that if there's other people watching them while they're shechting, and they see that it's good, that it's going to be kosher, but that is only b'diavad. That's after the fact. Lechatchila, you shouldn't even give them to shecht, even with other people there. Can't say 1 second. Acher meimed al gabav, it's going to be mutter. So yeah, it's going to be mutter b'diavad, but lechatchila, you shouldn't do that. That's why it says Shema Yikalkalu in the future. Maybe they'll mess it up, even though you have other people there. Still, you shouldn't give it to them. Then it says that anyone that shechs and there's other people that are watching it's going to be kosher, even a cher sheit v'katan, even though we don't know what their kavan is, but it doesn't matter what their kavan is, because the people watching them see that they're doing it well. Man tanad leibin and kavana l'shchita. Say, who's the one that holds that you don't need kavana? Amar Rava, Reb Nasani. Rava says it's Reb Nasan. The Tani, Oishia Zeira de Min Chavraya. Because Oishia Zeira de Min Chavraya means he was the youngest of the group. Taisvis has another pshat. And Rashi also, somewhere else has another. Taisvis over here says Min Chavraya means it comes from a place called Chavraya. Not that he was the youngest of the group. His name was Oishia Zeira. Comes from a place Chavraya. Rashi says also that his name was Oishia Zeira. Oishia, the small one, the Min Chavraya, he was one of the groups. So we have three pshatim here. One pshat is Oishia, his name was Oishia. He's the youngest of the group. Pshat number two is his name is Oishia Zeira, and he's from the group. He's one of the Chavra in the yeshiva. Tais's pshat is Oishia Zeira, and he's from a place called Chavraya. Okay. So he taught the following. He taught the brisa that has the Reb Nassan's opinion in it. It says Zarak Sakin Lenaitza B'Kaisel. You know, like the kids would throw these they were like a star. I forgot what it's called, like an Indian star or something. And it would just get stuck into the wall. You know what I'm talking about?
Like beanbags?
It was a sharp. It was a star that had
Oh
pointy things.
yeah. Yeah. You make them out of
Kids
paper
would throw it. I
sometimes.
remember in camp, kids would like to throw it on the wall. It got stuck in the wall. It must have been like some what's they call those ninja type things, like the I don't know. It was like people would have these things that were could hurt someone, protection. Anyway, they had so let's say someone took a knife. He's throwing, wants to see if he can get it to stick into the wall. So he throws this knife to stick into the wall, and v'holcha v'shachta kedarka, unbelievable. As it's flying, maybe a bird or an animal, it like runs by and flies by, and it shechs it straight through. So it just shechs it. So he clearly didn't have kavanah for shchita. Just happened to be in the wrong spot, the wrong spot at the right time. So Reb Nosson Machsher, Reb Nosson says it doesn't matter. It's good. It's a good shchita. Chacham Paislam. Where did we have there wasn't there a Gemara about Esav, a medrash about Esav? We had there's somewhere it's somewhere in Chulin that Esav could shech the bird in the air. I think he could with the arrow. He would sharpen his arrow, and the arrow would fly. He could shech like that. Anyway, over here he threw the knife. He doesn't have kavanah to shech, and it's just Reb Nosson says it's kasher v'cham paislam. The Chum say it's possible. Now, hutanila, I think this means Oishia. Oishia taught this. Bu'amrla, and he explains halacha Reb Nosson. That the halacha is like Reb Nosson. Direct the Gemara Rabin Melech Umevi. But we know how shechita is supposed to work. You have to go forward and backwards without pressing. You go this way and that way. How does it go forwards and backwards if you're throwing the knife into the wall? So the Gemara says, Halcha uba kedarka. Guess, and when he threw it, either hit the wall and bounces back, or whatever the energy gets used up, right? He throws the knife, it goes, and then when it's finished, it starts falling back downwards. Because he threw it upwards. There's another teretz that the Gemara could have said. That is, that you only have to do Melech Umevi if the knife is very small. If the knife is long, like if the knife is the size of two necks, then you could do a continue being Melech. You don't have to go back. That could be an easier answer. Whatever the case is, the Gemara didn't say that. Rashi says Tzakin sheish leichus litzaver kamalei tzaver the sagili balichas lechuda. More later on Daf Lamed. Okay. Reb Chia Barabba. Reb Chia Barabba says, Reb Chia Barabba is a Talmud of Rabbi Yechanan. He's a famous Talmud of Rabbi Yechanan. He was one of the best Talmidim. He said over everything. He clarified everything that he learned from Rabbi Yechanan every 30 days. It's a major Talmud of Rabbi Yechanan. By Rabbi Yechanan. Reb Chia Barabba says, Rabbi Yechanan has a shaila. Katan yesh lemachshava yin lemachshava. Let's say a katan wants to share the carbon. Carbon it has to be lishma. And the question is, can a katan do that? Amli Rabami says, "V'tiboyle ma'isa." You have like this far-fetched, extreme question. Why don't you take it a step back, make it more simple? Does a katan even have ma'isa? In other words, now here, we just learned before, cheirish shaita v'katan. If there's someone oimed al gabay, that is going to be mutter b'diavad. Achirim reimus is mutter. That was a katan is part of that group of cheirish shaita v'katan. So katan's in that group. If there's someone standing there, it's going to be kasha. When we say over here ma'isa, what we mean is if he did an action that proves to his machshava. Machshava itself is one thing, and then there's an action that proves the machshava. So an example for that could be that let's say there's a carbon, and it's a carbon isla, and it's on the south side of the Beis Hamikdash of the Azara. Now you know that the shech, the carbon, kachim has to be batzafin. So the katan takes the animal and he brings it over to tzafin and he shechs it there. So you see that he has a ma'isa. You have to add in. While he's bringing it, he announces, the reason why I'm bringing it to tzafin is because this is a carbon that needs to be shechter b'tzafin. So we know what he's doing. He says clearly, and not only is he saying, but he's even doing an action. So over there, what is it? Is that going to work when he does that? Why didn't you ask if it works? Tanan, because we have a Mishnah. Yesh la Maisa. You know that it's going to work. The Mishnah says that katan yesh la Maisa. If that's the case, you know the Mishnah. So then why don't you read a little further? Machshava nami like tibayla. You shouldn't have asked. Rabbi Yechanan shouldn't have asked the question because the Tanan ain't la machshava. If you didn't ask this, it's because you were aware of the Mishnah. Then you probably knew the second half of the Mishnah, and you wouldn't have asked the question at all. Tanan, the Mishnah says like this. We're jumping to Tima and Tara. The way Tima and Tara works is that for a keli to be considered a finished keli, you have to have machshava that says, okay, you're ready to use it. If you don't have that machshava, then we say it's not a keli yet. It says ha'alain v'ariman v'eges. I think I don't have English here. I think ha'alain is a chestnut. I don't know what it says over there in the art scrolls. Or maybe it says alain in italics. Remain is a pomegranate. Eges is a walnut. So they whatever it is, they have a shell that could be used. Maybe a remain is something that has a harder shell. Maybe it's not even a pomegranate. Maybe it's something else. No, I guess it's a pomegranate. They're using the shell for something. We could do this with a coconut. Turn a coconut shell into a bowl or a cup or something. Play with that. So now the question is, it goes like this. The tinaikas, the children, they took the food out, all the meat, whatever it is, inside the snot or whatever, and lamad b'mafar. They want to use it as something to play with it, to get dirt into it. Or they made it into a kaf maznayim means a cup to be able to use on a balance. So they made a little a bowl out of it for whatever, a spoonful. Tmeim. That's what they did. Then it becomes tummy because they made it into a keli, and a keli is tummy. A keli is makabel tummy. It's now susceptible to tummy. They shish lemaisa because they have action and they made it into a keli. Okay. Now says ve'in lehem machshava. But they don't have machshava. In other words, if they would come along and find this already, like, I don't know, the animals ate out the fruit or whatever it is, they would say, oh, you know what, I'll use that. They didn't do any action. They just decided that they're going to use it. They found it already made. Not made by a human on purpose, but they found it made just because that's how it was. So then They can't make it tamei just with machshava, just by saying, "Oh, I'm going to use that." They have to do an action to it. So the question now is, why did Rabbi Yochanan ask, "Does a katan have machshava?" He didn't ask Maisa. Why? Because he knows the Mishnah that when it comes to tumah and time, making something into a keli, he knows that they have Maisa. But if he knows that they have Maisa based on the Mishnah, he also knows that they don't have machshava. Amalei, so Reb Chia bar Abba says too. Who was the one that was asking him? Rabami. Chia bar Abba says to Rabami, "Machshava greidasa lekami bayale." He wasn't asking about machshava greda, machshava alone, just plain machshava. That he knows that they don't have. If he has machshava that's recognizable from his actions, but he doesn't have an announcement that goes with his actions. See, the case that we said before, with bringing the karban to the north, that's when he announced, "I'm bringing it to the north because the karban needs to be on the north." So we know that he made an announcement. The shaila is, if he doesn't say anything, he just brings it over to the north. It goes like this. You have a noila that's on the south. And he brings it to the north. He shachts it over there on the north. Doesn't mean that he had the right kavana, because you see what he did. He brought it over. Maybe he went over there because it was better over there for the place. It wasn't as claustrophobic. It wasn't as squishy. So he went over there. There was more room. It's hard to know with the child. You don't know why you did it. So is that going to work? That's Rabbi Yechanan's question. So Anami, the Gemara says, 1 second. Rabbi Yechan already discussed this. The Tanan, we have a Mishnah, and on the Mishnah, Rabbi Yechan makes a comment, and we're going to see that machshava nikeres b'teich ma'asav, we already paskana that it's going to be considered machshava. There's a mala peiros of legag b'pnei aknima. Let's say there were worms on the ground, and he's drying his fruit. So he takes the fruit up to the roof, because over there you don't have the same insect infestation. It won't be as infested under the roof. So he takes it up to the roof. Klima is like kinim, these lice that come, or worms that come into the fruit. The yardalam tal, then dew gets on it. This is einam b'chiyutan. This is not considered kiyutan. Why? The rule is that grain becomes tamei when it's susceptible to tumah. It doesn't become tamei. It becomes susceptible to tumah after it gets wet. Only if it's wet. That's why we wash our hands if we're eating wet fruits, because it's now susceptible to tumah. Wet grapes or something is common that people wash their hands for. Chabad, other people aren't makbid. But it's not fruit juices. It's not if you peel an orange you have to wash. It's only if it's wet from water. So what happens is like this: if it gets wet and you intended it to get wet, you wanted it, or you're happy about it, so then it's susceptible to tumah. If you weren't happy that it got wet, then it's not. It doesn't become susceptible to tumah even though it got wet. So it's the getting wet together with being happy about it. It says kiyitain, and we learn it kiyutan. That means. So it goes like this: if the dew got on this because you put it on the roof. Originally, I guess it was inside, maybe in the garage or something. It wouldn't have gotten wet because of the dew. But they had a problem of infestation, so you put it on the roof. Now it gets wet on the roof. So we're not going to say that you put it on the roof in order to get wet. That means you were happy about it, because you put it on the roof for another reason. Put it on so it doesn't get infested. I'm sorry. But if you wanted it to get wet, in other words, you wanted it to get a little rinse, so then it's going to be susceptible to tumah. Let's say a child or a cheirish shaita brought it up to the roof because of the infestation problem. Even if they did have intention for it to get wet, it says einan b'chiyutan. They don't have the category of kiyutan because their thought doesn't count, because The reason why they brought it up to the roof originally, see, you have to divide this up into two steps. They brought it up to the roof originally, so because of the infestation problem. Later on, they said, "Oh, delightful! It's going to get wet. It's the dew is going to get on." So that at a later, so that machshava was a machshava greda. They don't have machshava, just plain machshava. And Rabbi Yochanan says, that's only if when the dew went on it, they didn't go up and start to turn it over to get everything wet, to make sure that it all gets wet. But if they do turn it over, then it's considered, their machshava is considered good, because over there you have a maisa, machshava nikeres miteich maisa, that you can tell what their machshava is, because as they're turning it over, it's because they're trying to rinse it. So why is Rabbi Yochanan asking the question? Rabbi Yochanan already answered this. He has a clear statement. Rabbi Yochanan's question was like this. I know over there by the Tumah, I know that I consider it kiyutan. I consider it that it's now susceptible to Tumah. My shaila is that because I'm being machmer? Or would I even say that lakula? Would I even say it lakula? So, in other words, to be machmer, it's easy to be machmer. So, Rabbi Yochanan said that that halacha was taught that it's going to be tamei because it's machshav nikeres miteich ma'aser. Shaila is, when we're saying that it's tamei, is that because that's really the halacha, or that's because why not be machmer? So the way it's put over here is deiraisa. Is it a din deiraisa that machshav nikeres miteich ma'aser is that it's actually mekabel tumah mideiraisa, which means that if there would be a leniency out of it, we would be lenient as well. The Rabbanan, or is it just that the Rabbanan were machmer to say that it's mekabel tumah? So if, let's say the other way, let's say it was a carbon, would you say that you brought it to the other side, to the north? Would we say that the carbon's kosher? If it's a din deiraisa, then we would say, yeah, we'll be lenient as well and say that the carbon's kosher because the katsan's machshava was valid. Or do we say that no, but there we are machmer just because it's a derabanan? Why not be machmer? Okay. I'm sorry, that's the question of Rabbi Yochanan. Is it a din deraisa derabanan? Can we be lenient about the cotton's ma'isa machshava nikeres miteich ma'isa? Nachum Yitzchak has the same question, just the opposite. He says that Rabbi Barabba asked the question, asked Rabbi Yochanan's, he quoted Rabbi Yochanan's question. However, the question was the opposite of the way we put it. It says, Katan yesh le ma'isa, or yein le ma'isa. Does a cotton have ma'isa? That means if he takes the carbon from the south to the north, and he explains that he's doing it because it's puzzle on the south, you have to do it on the north, is that considered good? Or yein le ma'isa? Amalei Rabami v'tibai machshava. Why doesn't he ask about machshava if machshava itself works without a ma'isa? Ma'ishna machshava d'lei mibai. Why didn't he ask about machshava the Tanan? Because I have a Mishnah in la machshava. Because the Mishnah says in la machshava, if he tries to make that walnut, chestnut, or pomegranate into a keli, it says that machshava doesn't work if he just finds it. Yeah. So if that's the case, he knows the answer because he knows that in la machshava, ma'isa nami leiti violation to ask about ma'isa because the Tanan yesh la ma'isa because the Mishnah clearly says that if he made it, he has a ma'isa, so he knows already. Exactly the same dialogue that we had before, just the opposite. Where it says hachikami ba'ilei. No, Rabbi Yochanan's question was dairaisa. The fact that we know that they have ma'isa. Is that a din deraisa that they have ma'isa, or derabanan? Or do we just say that the fact that he made it into a keli, we're going to consider it a keli? We're going to consider it a keli, just as a din derabanan, just as a chumrah, or will we actually be lenient as well? Pashat because of their ma'isa. Pashat, and he answered, yesh lem ma'isa afilu midiraisa, ne'in lem machshava afilu midirabanan. Said. When it comes to Maisa, it's a din deraisa. Even if you were going to take the oila to one from the south to the north, it's going to be kosher. Even lakula, it's going to be kosher. Ein lehem machshava afilu midirabanan, but they don't have machshava even midirabanan. That is not considered anything. Shavti nikeres miteich ma'asav midiraisa ein lay midirabanan yesh lay. Well, if he didn't announce why he's taking it, it's only nikeres miteich ma'asav. Why is he bringing the carbon from the south to the north, the south to the north? It's probably because of that, but we don't know clearly. So for that, we can't say that it's kosher. We don't say midaraisa ein lay. Midirabanan, when it comes to making something into a keli, will be machmer. It's a very unique combination here. Shmuel is asking Rav Huna. Rav Huna is a Talmud of Rav. Shmuel is a contemporary of Rav. So he's going to Rav's Talmud. He's asking him a shaila. It's very unique. We had this somewhere else, but it's probably it's rare. Maybe 1-2 places in Shas we have a question like this. Shmuel asked Rav Huna, "Minayin lemasasik b'kadshim shu pasel." How do you know that that didn't intend for the shchita, that the shchita is possible by a carbon? Now, Rashi's pshat over here is that he was playing with a knife, and it just happened to be that he cut the animal's neck exactly in the place of the shchita. Taisa says that that should not be a shaila. That should not be Shmuel shaila, because before we had Machlekes Reb Nassan and the Rabbanan, if someone throws a knife and ends up shechting, the Chacham say it's puzzle. You're asking about kachim, and you have a shaila about kachim. If you know the Rabbanan hold that even by chulin, it's puzzle. So why should he ask a question about kachim? So Taisvus has a different pshat. He says misasik over here means that you knew you're doing a shchita, but you didn't realize that it was l'shem karban. That if you realize that it's a shchita, realize that you're cutting the simanim of the animal. If it would be chulin, it would be kosher. If it's a kachim, so what's going to be the din? Shenema v'shacheres ben bakar. So Rav Huna responds. He says v'shacheres ben bakar. Shtei shchit l'shem ben bakar. Because you have to have intention that it's for this sacrifice. Amaloi, so Shmuel says zubi yadeinahu. That I know already. La'akiv minayin. And you answered me lachatchila that you're supposed to have kavana. My question was b'di'evet, if it's essential that kavana. Amalei, so Rav Huna responds, we have a repetition. Whenever something is repeated, so we know that it has to be when it comes to kachim, it's ma'akiv whenever it says it twice. So if that's the case, so then we know already that it's going to be ma'akiv because there's a repetition. Okay, let's leave it at the Mishnah. We're on Yud Gimel Amud Aleph towards the bottom of the page. 13a, the Mishnah. Okay. Have a good day, everyone.